There are over 180 horror movies on Netflix, and I watched all of them. Just kidding, no I didn't. But today we are delving into the darkest corners of this streaming service. In today's video, I'm going to give you some recommendations on the 10 best horror movies streaming on Netflix so that you know what to watch next. Hey horror nerds, Cameron here at Nonstop Horror, coming at you with another video where I recommend some horror movies on a streaming service that you probably have. Netflix is pretty popular, so I figured I'd make this video. I just want to help you out in case you're stuck when deciding what to watch next. Just keep in mind, like I said in my Amazon Prime video, that movies tend to come and go on these streaming services. Things change a lot, so there will be future updates when it comes to movies that are streaming on these services. If you found these recommendations helpful, make sure to slash that like button and subscribe for more of the best horror movie recommendations and horror content all year round. Cam is the first horror movie on our list. Cam is a horror movie about a cam girl who basically loses access to her channel, but this doppelganger that takes over is still putting on shows, and then it's her mission to get to the bottom of this mystery. I really love this term that I heard recently on the Horror Weekly podcast. He called it doppelganger horror, which this fits into perfectly. I just love that idea of doppelganger horror, which I really hadn't thought of as its own subgenre, and this movie fits right into it. By the way, if you missed that video where I talked about the best horror podcasts and you need something to listen to within the horror genre, be sure to watch that video because I've got some great recommendations over there for you. Cam was written by a former cam girl herself, and she stated that the horror film medium was the best way to tell the story that she had. Cam stars Madeline Brewer, who's no stranger to the horror genre. She's in an episode of Black Mirror, and she also stars in the TV show Handmaid's Tale. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is a mix between comedy horror, influencer horror, and a teen slasher. It's about a group of friends who are partying at this really big house. I forget if it's like summer break or spring break or whatnot, but they decide amongst their shenanigans to play a whodunit mystery game called Bodies, 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 and things just go horribly wrong. This is a really fun one, unless you don't really like the over-the-top like Gen Z stereotypes. There's a lot of that in this, but it's still fun. X is a slasher starring Mia Goth. Mia Goth is making waves in the horror scene these days. Modern day scream queen right here. X is the first movie in a trilogy containing X, Pearl, and Maxine coming out later this year. And it follows a group of people who are on a mission to make an adult film, and they decide to use this extra house on this old couple's property as the setting for their film. They soon find out that these old folks aren't the nicest people in the world, kind of wacky. It's a really fun movie. It's got old school vintage vibes. Looks like it could have been made in the 70s. Reminds me of like old school Texas Chainsaw Massacre at times. If you do like X, make sure to go watch Pearl and then Maxine when it comes out this year. Creep is a found footage horror film, which, if you haven't realized by now, has a sweet spot in my heart. It might be my favorite horror subgenre, but that's a conversation for another time. Creep was created by and stars Mark Duplass. He is amazing in this film. It's about a videographer who takes this job for an oddball client, Mark Duplass's character, in a remote cabin in the woods, already pretty sketchy. And then when he gets there, he's told by Mark Duplass that he has an inoperable brain tumor, and he wants the videographer to help him create a video diary for his unborn child. Really kind of sweet and tragic at the same time on paper, but as you can probably guess, things don't go as expected. If you're looking for a found footage horror film on Netflix, this should be your go-to, and if you like it, there's a sequel. The Autopsy of Jane Doe is a modern supernatural horror film that gets a lot of love and praise online. It stars Brian Cox and Emil Hirsch, who are pretty big names already. They play a father-son duo. Brian Cox is a small-time coroner who receives a mysterious body and is essentially given 24 hours to figure out what happened and what was the cause of death. This is a father-son team-up that doesn't go as great as you would hope, but this film does have a really great atmosphere, and it does a great job with such a small setting. Speaking of atmosphere, the next film on our list is a foreign horror film called The Wailing, and one of the aspects of the movie that gets the highest praises is its atmosphere. The film follows a policeman who is investigating a sickness that starts spreading throughout his village after a stranger arrives. This is a great film to turn on if you want something that's a little bit light on the horror side of things and heavier on the mystery and thriller aspects. Nightmare on Elm Street, how can you go wrong with classic horror? This is where you get to see the beginnings of one of the most beloved slasher villains in Freddy Krueger. If you're unaware of the plot of A Nightmare on Elm Street, let me catch you up. It's about a group of teens who start experiencing the same weird dreams that involve this burned man with knives for fingers. It's Freddy Krueger. And if he kills you in the dream, you die in real life. Big uh-oh. The kills and effects are creative and fun, and I think this movie really still holds up. If you enjoy this movie and you're completely oblivious to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, you're in luck because Netflix has the entire collection available to us on Netflix. So you've got a lot to go through. Happy watching. Ouija: Origin of Evil will probably stand out to a lot of modern day horror fans. It's written and directed by Mike Flanagan, who did Haunting of Hill House, Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, and The Fall of the House of Usher. So if you're a fan of those shows on Netflix, it might be interesting to see his previous work. This movie is a prequel to the movie Ouija. Ouija, when it first came out, and I guess to this day also, gets really bad reviews. People don't like it a whole lot, including myself. But Mike Flanagan was able to turn that on its head, and Ouija: Origin of Evil was a really great revival for the franchise, even though I don't know if you'd call it a revival because there haven't been more movies made since, but I digress. Ouija: Origin of Evil is a lot better than the first movie, and lots of people like it. The plot in this one is about a mom and her two girls who kind of run this like scammy seance business, and then they buy a Ouija board to like enhance the experience, and then the Ouija board actually like invites in like supernatural shit, and yeah, it's a good time. Oh, and I should mention that you do not need to watch Ouija to understand and enjoy Ouija: Origin of Evil, so you can skip that one. Backcountry is kind of like the creature feature on our list today. It's about a couple who goes hiking in this area that the boyfriend, Alex, is familiar with because he used to hike there when he was younger. He kind of wants to impress her with his outdoor skills, and this is essentially a blueprint of what not to do when you go hiking. But anyway, they get lost, they have a run-in with a bear, which is everyone's worst nightmare. I wouldn't say this is the greatest horror movie, but there is a pivotal scene in it that is one of the most disturbing in recent memory. For all you folk horror fans out there, we do have a movie on this list for you. It's called The Ritual. The Ritual is about a group of friends who take a hiking trip in honor of one of their friends that passed away recently. One of the friends gets hurt like really early on in the hiking part, and they essentially need to take a shortcut to get back to get him some medical help or whatever. And they decide to take a shortcut through this weird, creepy forest. Never a good idea. So of course, as you can guess, the forest is not just some innocent, nice forest, bad forest, mean forest. This movie has great character development, amazing cinematography. I think that the message behind it is really good, and it has a really awesome payoff, in my opinion. Unlike a different, very popular folk horror movie of recent memory. Not naming names. I just want to give a quick honorable mention to It Follows. On the website, it says that you can't watch It Follows. If you have an ad-supported plan, you have to have one of the more expensive plans, which I admittedly don't have, but It Follows is really good. It's a supernatural horror that essentially has to do with a entity that haunts people, and it's passed on through like after they have sexual intercourse. Is that the best way to explain it? But it's a good one. So if you're rolling in it and you have one of those higher Netflix plans, you should check out It Follows as well. There you go, dudes and dudettes. If you're anything like me, I know that you're constantly trying to think of the next best horror movie to watch, so I hope that this video helps you narrow down your choices. You can't go wrong with any of these, and you have so many options from classic slashers to modern day folk horror. Take your pick and let me know what you end up watching in the comments down below. And if you've seen those already, I want to hear your thoughts too. Convince someone down in the comments to go watch one of them. It means a lot if you could slash that like button and subscribe to the Nonstop Horror YouTube channel to keep videos like these coming. Make sure to keep coming back for more fun, exciting, and informative horror content. And remember to embrace the fear all year round. Cameron out.